day everyone, we are the group 1, but before we start, let us introduce ourselves. I am JONALD AVILES,
SANCHEZ ay SANCHEZ.
Celi, Amante the third C.
BULDEC, JANWIN.
and CATIVO hero.
We will discuss the history and impact of oil spill in marine environment, including ecological, environmental, and financial impact. Let's start with the impact of oil spill in the marine environment. Our oceans are under constant threat. One of the most devastating dangers the oil spill, impacting marine life, ecosystems, and also our economies. Imagine the ocean being clean, then suddenly gets covered in thick black oil from ships. This oil spill causes long-term damage, from the smallest organisms to the largest. The most affected to this oil spill are the marine mammals, also marine birds. Those birds coated in oil lose their buoyancy and insulation, leading to hypothermia and death. Same as the sea mammals, their ability to regulate body temperature compromised. Next, oil toxicity. Oil consists of different toxic compounds can cause health problems, not just the environment that been affected, also the economies affected because of contamination. They close fisheries due to risk it poses to fish and other marine resources.
We have two types of oil spill. Oil spill on land-based and oil spill caused by ships. Oil spill on land are serious environmental hazard impacting soil, water, and wildlife. These spills can occur due to the various reasons including industrial accidents, transportation mishaps, pipeline leaks, and operational negligence, and natural disaster. Industrial accidents. Equipment failure at oil storage facilities can lead to large-scale spills. Transportation mishaps. Accidents involving oil tankers on road or railway can result in significant land contamination. Pipeline leaks. Corroded or damaged pipeline can cause underground oil leaks, often going undetected until substantial damage occurs. Operational negligence. Improper handling or storage of oil products can lead to preventable spills. Natural disaster, earthquake, floods, and hurricanes can damage oil infrastructures, causing spills. And these are the oil spill covered by a ship or caused by ships. First is the Torre Canyon. Torre Canyon on March 18, 1967, en route from Kuwait to Milford Haven, Wales, struck Pollard's Rock on Seven-Stone Reef located between the Cornish mainland and the Isles of Celi. The collision was attributed to a combination of factors including navigational errors, uncertainty about the ship's position, and malfunction steering system. The Torre Canyon oil spill was a catastrophic environmental disaster that occurs off the coastal of Cornwall, England. It was one of the world's most serious oil spill, releasing an estimated of 36 million gallons of crude oil to the sea. The Torre Canyon disaster was a pivotal event that drove the revision of MARPOL Annex 1, establishing a stricter regulation to prevent oil spill from ships, while later incident led further updates with spill foundation in the shaping modern maritime environmental laws. Next, we have Exxon Valdez. Exxon Valdez oil spill was a major environmental disaster that occurs on March 24, 1989 in Prince William Sound, Alaska. The spill, which released over 10 million gallons of crude oil into the oceans, that results the Exxon Valdez, an oil tanker owned by Exxon Shipping Company, running around on Blythe Reef. The Exxon Valdez was carrying 53.1 million gallons of oil when it struck in Blythe at 12:34 a.m. The impact punctured 8 of the 11 cargo holds and over 5.8 million gallons of oil drained from the ships within 3 hours and 15 minutes. The spill was excavated in strong winds and waves which disperse the oil across sound. Deepwater horizontal oil spill, also known as the Gulf of Mexico oil spill, was a catastrophic environmental disaster that occurs in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010. It considers the largest oil spill in U.S. history, releasing millions of barrels of oil into the Gulf over the course of 87 days. The explosion killed 11 workers and injured 17. The rig sank 2 days later, leaving the well gushing oil into the Gulf. The spill was caused by a combination of factors including blowout prevention failure and defective cements. And lastly, we have the Exxon Valdez oil spill, which occurred in 1989, was one of the most devastating environmental disaster in history.
Next is the ecological impact of oil spill. The Torrey Cognac oil spill, which occurred in 1967, was one of the most significant environmental disasters in history. Here are some of the ecological effects of this spill. Massive oil slick. The spill released an estimated 119,000 tons of crude oil into the English Channel, creating a massive oil slick that spread over 300 square miles. Beach pollution. The oil slick reaches the coast of Cornwall, England, and polluted over 120 miles of coastline, including beaches, coves, and estuaries. Wildlife death. An oil spill killed an estimated 15,000 to 20,000 seabirds, including guillemots, gulls, and puffins, as well as the marine mammals, fish, and invertebrates. The long-term effects. Habitat destruction. The oil spill damaged or destroyed habitats for many marine species, including coral reefs, seaweed beds, and salt marshes. Changes in marine ecosystem. The spill altered the composition of marine ecosystems, leading to changes in species populations and community structures. Bioaccumulation of toxins. The oil spill led to the bioaccumulation of toxins in marine organisms, which can have long-term effects on human health and the environment. Economic impacts. The spill had significant economic impacts on the fishing and tourism industries in the affected areas. The recovery efforts. Cleanup operations. A massive cleanup effort was undertaken, including the use of dispersants, booms, and skimmers to remove the oil from the water and beaches. The habitat restoration efforts were made to restore damaged habitats, including the replanting of seaweed and the restoration of salt marshes. The wildlife conservation efforts were implemented to protect affected wildlife populations, including the establishments and protected areas and the reintroduction of species.
Next is the ecological impact of Exxon Valdez oil spill. The Exxon Valdez oil spill, which occurred in 1989, was one of the most devastating environmental disasters in history. Here are some of the ecological effects of the incident. Massive oil leaks. The oil spill released an estimated 11 million gallons of crude oil into Prince William Sound, Alaska, creating a massive oil leaks that spread over 3,200 square miles. Beach pollution. The oil leak reached the coast of Alaska, polluting 1,300 miles of coastline, beaches, coves, and estuaries. Wildlife deaths. The oil spill killed an estimated 250,000 seabirds, 2,800 sea otters, and 300 harbor seals, and countless fishes and invertebrates. Long-term effects. Habitat destruction. The oil spill damaged or destroyed habitats for many marine species, including kelp forest, coral reefs, and salt marshes. The oil spill altered the composition of the marine ecosystem, leading to change in species population and community structures. Bioaccumulation of toxins. The oil spill leads to the bioaccumulation of toxins in marine organisms, which can have a long-term effect on human and health and environment. Oil from the spill persisted subsurface soil and sediments for decades, continuing the effect of marine life. Chronic exposure. Chronic exposure to oil residues has been linked to long-term health effects in wildlife, including reproductive problems and increased mortality. Recovery efforts. Cleanup operations. A massive cleanup effort was undertaken involving the use of dispersant, booms, and skimmers to remove oil from the water and beaches. Habitat restoration. Efforts were made to restore damaged habitats, including replanting of kelp forest and the restoration of salt marshes. Wildlife conservation. Conservation efforts were implemented to protect affected wildlife populations, including the establishments of protected areas and the reintroduction of species. Next is the Deepwater Horizon incident, also known as the BP oil spill, was a catastrophic environmental disaster that occurred in April 20, 2010 on the Gulf of Mexico. Deepwater Horizon is a semi-submersible oil rig operated by Transocean leased by BP or the British Petroleum. The oil rig was located approximately 41 miles off the coast of Louisiana in the Macondo prospect field. The oil rig was drilling an exploratory well at a depth of approximately 35,000 feet. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill is one of the most largest environmental disasters in history, had a profound ecological impact on the Gulf of Mexico and beyond. Here are some of the key ecological impacts. Massive oil slicks. Over 4.9 million barrels of crude oil were released in the Gulf, creating a massive oil slick. Wildlife mortality. Widespread of mortality among marine wildlife including sea turtles, dolphins, whales, fishes, and seabirds. Habitat destruction. Damages or destruction of habitats including coral reefs, mangroves, and seagrass beds. Long-term impacts. Toxicity and bioaccumulation. Release of toxic chemicals including polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons or PAHs, which can bioaccumulate in marine organisms. Disruption of food webs. Impact on population of species that relies on oil-contaminated prey. Impact on fisheries. Closure of fisheries and effects on livelihoods of people dependent on fishing and seafood. Marsh and wetland damages. Damage or destruction of marshes, wetlands, critical habitats for marine species. Impact on human health. Exposure to oil spill chemicals linked to human health problems. Impact on specific species. Sea turtles. Estimated to 20 to 30% juvenile sea turtles in the Gulf were killed. Dolphins. Increased dolphin mortality rates and reproductive problems. Whales. Exposure to oil and decreased prey availability. Fishes. Contamination of fishes and shellfishes affecting human consumption. Seabirds. Estimated 800,000 seabirds were killed. The ecological impact of Deepwater Horizon oil spill was severe and far-reaching, affecting multiple species and ecosystems. Ongoing recovery and restoration efforts aim to mitigate the impacts and promote ecosystem resilience.
Next is the environmental effect of Torrey Canyon. It was the first major oil spill in British and European waters, causing enormous damage to marine life and the livelihood of local people. It also led to change in the way of people viewed the environment. Brittany in northern France bore the brunt of the thickest part of this lake, and it became known as Black Sea. More than 15,000 seabirds were killed. Plugged up with thick, viscous oil, they were washed up both alive and dead on the shore. Future population of some species took decades to recover. The death of the bird and marine mammals in the first day after the spill were only the fraction of the final toll. The effect went on for years, working on organisms from the bottom of the food chain, the plankton, a small invertebrate that lives in sediments, through mussels and clam, up to fish, bird, and mammals. And the British clean-up effort, which involved the excessive and indiscriminate use of powerful chemicals, made a bad situation much worse. In the years since the Exxon Valdez spilled its cargo of crude oil on the reef, many parts of the Alaskan marine environment have begun to show signs of significant physical and biological changes. Water have warmed, ice has receded, and population of fish and mammals have declined. The Exxon Valdez disaster dramatically changed all of that, taking a major toll on wildlife. It killed an estimated 2,500 seabirds, 3,000 otters, 300 seals, 250 bald eagles, and 22 killer whales. The northern Gulf of Mexico is home of 22 species of marine mammals, including mantanis in coastal seagrasses and dolphins and whales in estuarine nearshore and offshore habitats. The Gulf of Mexico provided critical important habitats for sea turtle production, feeding migration, and refuge, including extensive sargassum habitat in the open ocean that small juvenile turtles depend on for survival. Deepwater horizon oil contaminated every type of habitat that northern Gulf of Mexico marine mammals occupied. Marine mammals and sea turtle may have been exposed to the oil by inhalation, aspiration, ingesting contaminated sediments, water, or prey, or by absorbing contaminant through their skin. Marine in oil and exposure or surface habitat cause significant harm to sea turtles, including decreased mobility, exhaustion, dehydration, overheating, likely decreased ability to feed by invade predators, and death.
And here are the financial damages caused by the Torrey Canyon oil spill. One of the world's most devastating environmental disasters occurred in 1967 when supertanker SS Torrey Canyon ran aground off the coast of Cornwall, England, spilling an estimated of 25 to 36 million gallons of crude oil. The financial damage caused by the disaster was substantial. Financial damage. Clean-up costs. The British government spent nearly 1 million euros, approximately 16 million euros or 20 million US dollar today, to destroy the ship and fight the oil leak. Claim and compensation. The British and French government made claim against the owner of the vessel, with the subsequent settlement being the largest ever in marine history for an oil claim. Economic impact. The spill had significant impact on the local economy, particularly the fishing and tourism industry, with estimated losses of 1 to 2 million euros, approximately 15 to 30 million euros or 20 to 40 million US dollar today. Insurance claim. The total insured value of ship and cargo was 16.5 million US dollar, making it the most expensive single rig in history at the time. The Torrey Canyon disaster led to significant changes in maritime law and oil spill responses, including the International Convention on Civil Liability for Oil Pollution Damage of 1969. Next, the Exxon Valdez oil spill in 1989 caused significant financial damages. Exxon settled with the government in 1991, agreeing to pay 1 billion US dollar in criminal and civil penalties, which included 25 million US dollar criminal plea agreement, 100 million US dollar in criminal restitution, and 900 million US dollar in civil settlements. In addition to the settlement, Exxon also faced punitive damages in 1994. An Anchorage jury awarded 257 million US dollar in actual damages and 5 billion US dollar in punitive damages. Although Exxon appealed the ruling, the company eventually paid 507.5 billion US dollar punitive damages plus interest, as ordered by the Supreme Court in 2008. The total clean-up costs and related expenses for Exxon exceeds 4 billion US dollar. The company also recovered significantly portion of clean-up and legal expenses through insurance claim associated with grounding of Exxon Valdez. The financial damage wasn't limited to Exxon alone. This spill had a significant impact on the local economy, particularly the fishing industry. And spill caused over 300 million in economic harm and more than 32,000 people whose livelihood depending on commercial fishing. And the last, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, one of the most largest environmental disasters in history, occurred in 2010 when an explosion on the Deepwater Horizon oil rig released an estimated 4.9 million barrels of crude oil into the Gulf of Mexico. Financial damage, cleanup cost. BP, the operator of the oil rig, spent over $14 billion on cleanup efforts, making it one of the most expensive cleanup operations in history. Settlements and fines. BP agreed to pay $4.5 billion in fines and penalties, including a $1.256 billion crime fines and largest in U.S. history. Civil settlements. BP reached a civil settlement with U.S. Department of Justice, agreeing to pay $5.5 billion over 16 years plus interest. Economic impact. The spill had significant impact on the Gulf Coast economy, particularly the fishing and tourist industries, with estimated loss of $23 billion. Natural resources damages. BP agreed to pay $8.8 billion to settle natural resources damage claim. This will be used to restore damages, habitats, and ecosystem. The total financial damages caused by the Deepwater Horizon oil spill is estimated to be over $65 billion, making it one of the most expensive environmental disasters in history.
So that is the end of our discussion. Again, we are the Group 1 and we hope that you learned something from us.
Paalam!
Okay.